And so begins the end of this show, Season 7, where we're officially in the supposedly last book of this series, which is yet to be written as of when I'm recording this, and I'm really glad to have been proven right that the aftermath of Season 6, aka the beginning of this one, simplified the equation and allowed me to get right back on track with figuring out who's doing what and understanding where every player is. I guess I either just wasn't paying as much attention to what was happening in Season 6, or there was just a little weird period there where something just slipped past me, but now the equation has been much more simplified. Thank you, show writers. So, jumping into the storylines, I'm gonna save Daenerys for later this time, and I'm going to instead of focusing on a couple of other people. So, Sansa. She's in a unique position because everybody is under the opinion that Jon, despite being the supposed bastard of Ned Stark, is the rightful ruler, warden, whatever you want to call it, of the northern area of Westeros. But when it comes to blood relation, because as it turns out, I was right in what I was thinking of in my Season 6 review, where Jon is not related to Ned Stark biologically at all. He's actually just Ned's nephew, who he pretended was his son to keep him safe. It's actually Sansa who's in charge of the North, both by blood and arguably merit, because in the prior season, both Jon and Sansa were deferring to each other. Sansa giving Jon the position due to merit, and of course the uncertainty if they'll accept a female ruler, but Jon's like, you're the eldest of the remaining Starks. It's your position by right here. Well, now she's actually making some decisions because Jon's been gone for so long, and even though Baelish, aka Littlefinger, was twisting her mind in some instances, she did go, well, yes, he just willingly abandons all of us, not that much word coming to all of us, and we have to hope that his conspiring with a relative of a ruler who everyone despised a couple of generation back, I get what she's thinking. So now she's taking a more assertive leadership, and it's really nice to see that how the pretty and completely full of herself woman from the first season now is focusing a lot more beyond herself. Oh yeah, she's thinking of herself, but it's just different. You can tell. Sure, Arya ended up frightening her, but at the same time, if you really read into Arya, she's more trying to get across the message that she could have killed Sansa right then, but she's only ever going to kill Sansa if there's a really good reason to, and she had literally no reason to do that to her this season, because I think that Arya was uncovering things that Baelish had been keeping hidden, but it seemed to be that there were multiple discussions between her and Sansa and maybe somebody else there that happened off screen, because I did pick up the beginning of that, and I pick up the end completely with these two Stark children getting Baelish exposed and then ending him. Thank you! Like, seriously, the fact that that guy was able to keep manipulating people for that long in the show, whoa! But seriously, yeah, that's the person who's really responsible for everything that happened to the family and all that, because that knife that Arya used to kill Baelish, provided it's the knife that I'm thinking of, it's the knife that happened with the assassin that was trying to kill Bran in like the second or third episode of the first season, something like that, literally that long ago, You're saying that that was Baelish all along? Hoo, 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 hoo. So he was actually the very first person to try and do something to do power in this whole show, because Jamie pushing Bran out of the window, no, that's not power. That's him, getting rid of a witness. That's just all it is. So it was Baelish that started this and not the Lannisters? Ho, 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 ho. Though, of course, who wasn't that started the revolt against the mad Targaryen king? That, it's a question that has definitely been revealed. I forget exactly who started it. I'm sure one of you experts can inform me on this, okay? Okay, right. But just damn. Really satisfying, and yeah, he was begging at the end, but he had had enough of a showing from everyone that they're like, we don't believe you anymore, we know that you're the bad guy, and then just a swift end to him, rather unceremonious. Yeah, and I love the fact that the slit throat didn't kill him immediately. Damn allergies! So yeah, that was a great way to finally wrap up that story arc. And out of curiosity, how does Arya feel about hypothetically becoming the person in charge of the North? Well, I think it's a situation where if Sansa and Jon, although they don't know that he's actually their cousin, not their half-sibling, if both of them were to die, then she'd be the one in charge, because I think she is older than Bran. Well, she'd do it, but only if she had to. I don't think she has any real desire to rule, and I think that she would honestly find that to be kind of dull. She wants a life that is for her, not controlled by society norms, that kind of a thing. But she has her chance now, albeit not the way that she was expecting. But she's making do with it. So it's nice to see things working out for those two, and they're finally free of Baelish, so now their only influencers are whoever comes out and on top of this clash of the rulers, which is the main thing that we need to discuss now, because talking about Jaime and Cersei, well, it's not interesting, but somewhat ironic, because Cersei has been the main driving force that seems to be setting off this war against conquest thing that has been happening throughout this entire show. And now, finally, she not only has established herself as basically the dominant warlord, she's actually officially queen. So instead of manipulating Joffrey and whatever the heck the other kid's name was behind the scenes, now she's actually the one that everyone reveres as the one in charge. So she's finally got what she wanted, but now you look at her position, suddenly it's actually a lot harder for her to get things done. And that's even when you take the White Walkers out of the equation. So let's just forget them, okay? Now, her being officially the one in charge, she can't hide anymore. She can't be subtle. She has to be direct with what she wants. And yes, she's got Jaime, and yes, she's got a lot of people fighting with her and all that stuff, but the problem is, because of all this warlord against warlord thing that's happened, there's been a lot of people that have died in the conquest, and it's just, she can't be subtle. She has to gamble a lot more. You know how she's bringing up the idea with Jaime? We have the vault. We've got all kinds of gold there. We can hire mercenaries. Oh, yeah. You can do that, but it's all about intimidation. Okay? Because that's the difference between her and Daenerys. Cersei, it's all about intimidation. Who has the most power? Who is the most cunning? Now, can that help make a ruler? Yeah, but it's closer to Robert than Daenerys, because Robert was intimidation. Everyone knew that the guy was just a dolt, he got there because he fought his way there. And He's defeated via trickery from his own wife, who never loved him, and he should have known that. So she's in a completely different situation now. Now she has to do things very direct. It's not going to be that easy. And even though the Lannisters have emerged as the dominant family here, as Jaime points out, we're all that's left. All of these other houses, we've either destroyed them or the fragments of their former selves, and they've all fled to support the North. Or in the case of Theon and his sister, vie for their independence. And the other members of their family in the High Council, Baelish, well, yes, he was sort of helping them, but he was only out for himself, and now he's gone. The Larrys, the priest guy who obviously isn't a priest, okay, the one that's always helping Tyrion, he's defected to Daenerys. The old priest guy with the beard that was with Theon's whore girl during the first season, he's gone now. All the other members of their family, they're dead. Generation above them and generation below them. And then like that commander that they try to introduce, who I think is related to Sam, who I didn't really talk about last season, but that's because he didn't really do anything. He's just trying to continue to protect him and the girl from the north, which is admirable, but of course that family of his is too prejudiced, and now they're removed from the table, so yeah, that even simplifies it even further for him. Though I am glad that he helped, what's-his-face, Jorah, get rid of the dragon scale. Nice job there, Sam. It's a little simple of a fix, but because it's another main character helping another one, and they never interacted before, although Sam did know, and Jon, they did know Jorah's father, who I actually do remember now vaguely, but he doesn't introduce him as such. Okay, yeah. As another layer to that character, and I'm glad to know that now. Okay, but where was I? Right, but there's no one left to help the Lannisters out now. They've gotten what they wanted, but they lost a lot along the way. Yeah, and opposite Daenerys, who has gotten most of her followers via respect rather than intimidation, it's totally different, and they know that. Yes, they have a lot of people following them, but it's blind loyalty. Daenerys, every person following her has stated, we want to follow you specifically. Yeah. So it's totally different. So Cersei and Jaime, they're actually in a weaker position than they were before, even though on paper, it seems the exact opposite. So Jaime abandoning Cersei, well, I don't know if he's abandoned her, but he's thinking way more clearly than she is. She's just focusing on keeping her power, but it's like, yeah, he knows. On a fair fight, the Lannisters are going to be totally crushed by Daenerys and her group. He knows that. Bronn, as he said, he only saved Jaime because he's like, no one kills you but me. And Jaime expects that, but it's a situation where he's like, hey, I'm lucky to have lasted this long in this conflict as much as I have, so yeah. Because he respects Bronn. He doesn't want to, but he does, and I think there is a side of Bronn that does respect that, but he's still going to try and get Jaime in that regard, or ditch ship first chance he can, because when Tyrion goes, it's good to see you, even though Bronn says it somewhat sarcastically, you as well, there is a big part of him that means it, because he's not particularly happy with either of these ruling people, and just wants to make sure that he comes out as the better candidate, but he's fine, because he doesn't want to rule. He just wants to make sure that he's safe. He should be fine unless the final battle goes insane. We'll see. Whew. So that was a long-winded explanation on Cersei and Jaime. Now let's do Daenerys. So she's finally back in Westeros and is making her intentions known, but she and Cersei, they both know. There's no way that either of them can agree to this, because Cersei, she's been just doing trickery after trickery to get to power, whereas Daenerys has a blood claim to the throne, even though the customs of the Westeros society make it clear that Jon is the actual heir, given how he's the son of Daenerys' okay, it's not her father, because her father was the Mad King, and that is somebody that we've never seen pictured this whole series. So it's either Daenerys' uncle, which makes her and Jon cousins, or it's Daenerys' brother, which makes Jon her nephew. What? That's going to be real interesting when they learn that fact, if they learn. Yeah, and like her and Jon, I don't know, just like that kind of came out of nowhere in my mind. They really should have fleshed that out a little bit. I mean, like, yes, he has respect for Daenerys, but that took a while. She has respect for him, but then again, it took a while. But just, I don't know, just there should have been more in my mind. But then again, how do you know that they truly love each other, that it's not just a one-night stand or something like that? Huh. I don't know, I just feel like that could have been a little better. Now, something tells me that the show writers would not have done that if Martin hadn't given them the indication that he was going to have at least something going on between one of those two, but I don't know. And by the time I know, there'll be other things to talk about. Yeah. But at the same time, though, she knows that it's not just swoop in there and conquer the Lannisters, because one, there's the White Walkers, who are the real enemy here, and then also, like, the reason that she stayed in that city with the huge pyramid for 3+ seasons is because she's trying to impose order. It isn't just conquer the place, it's what happens after it. A rebellion can put down an evil empire, but what happens after that? It's not that easy, No one talks about that in the books that we're reading when we're younger, but then you gradually realize more and more of that. Like when World War II ended, okay? Yes, word starts getting around that the war is over, but that's not so easy in some places. Some places it took forever for official word to get there, because there were various concentration camps that didn't learn about the war being over for months. There were Japanese soldiers who spent 20 years on a lonely island, the only people that they knew, waiting for the next batch of orders from their commander, and then it's only when tourists arrive that it's discovered that this person is still there, and they're halfway crazy because they've been alone for so long. It's not the easiest thing mopping up the results of a war. It takes a long time, as Tyrion mentions to Daenerys. This isn't going to be easy. It isn't just winning one conflict, it's winning everything that comes after that. Because he, unlike Varys, the bald guy who's been helping him this whole time, Tyrion does have an interest in ruling, but he knows that no one is going to respect him the way that they respect Daenerys. So he wants her there. But now that Daenerys has a chance at getting what she has longed for the whole show and basically her whole life, that, now she's getting a little bit not so great on the forward-thinking bit. It's tough. Because, she had to put all of her trust in Jon, a guy that she doesn't know and has tons of reasons to not trust, to learn what the real enemy to her plans are. So she risks her most valuable assets to go out there on pretty much a whim to find out that, yes, they are a threat. And then, of course, They bring down one of her dragons and then turn it into a walker, and it's because of Daenerys, actually, that things are even worse. Interesting reversal from last season, where Daenerys is in action on Tyrion's advice. Hurt her, but when she showed up, she was able to mop up the results. But now it's her action that has actually made things worse. Oh, man. But no more Beyond the Wall now. Now it's just the White Walkers, everyone in the north, and the Lannisters. And that's it. The equation has been ridiculously simplified now. Whew. So I know that's not the greatest explanation for Daenerys, but yeah. And then Jon, he's just doing what he felt was needed for all the people in the north, though he's losing trust, except he doesn't know that because he's thinking about all of Westeros here, and can't blame him for that. He's trying, you know. But now that he's officially affiliated with Daenerys, there's a great chance that he's going to get what he wants, but once he learns that he is actually the real blood heir to the throne, even though, of course, Daenerys is higher than him in family, but that's not really going to matter. But what's Jon's father's relation to the Mad King? Oh, yeah. So if Jon's Daenerys' nephew, that makes his father Daenerys' brother, and that makes Jon the grandson of the Mad King. Okay, so actually that makes sense. Assuming that the brother that Jon is fathered by was older than the brother that we saw at the beginning of the show. Because if that's true, then it all makes perfect sense. But Daenerys was implied to be the young one, so, right. I wonder what he's going to do when he learns that, because he made it clear he doesn't want to rule Westeros, he just wants to take care of the North, get his inheritance, though of course that's not his real inheritance, because it's true, he's never been a Stark. Not one bit. He's a Targaryen. Ooh. So he and Daenerys are going to have to, by default, come into some kind of conflict here, because there was already going to be a bit of a conflict, but they could have worked it out. But now that they know that they're related, one of them, at least one of them, is going to have to do something. And something tells me it's not going to end out well for whoever decides to be trying to do something, rather than just working together. And then, of course, there's the fact that the wall has finally been breached, but yeah, this is the threat that we were teased about from the beginning of the show. Jon's uncle finally shows up to provide a little bit of Deus Ex Machina, get Jon out of there, and then, because Daenerys sends her dragons up there, they get through the wall. So there's no more Beyond the Wall, there's no more Beyond the Narrow Sea. It's just these three, arguably four, factions going at it. And at least two of them are going to have to perish, because, so we've broadly speaking got four power players left here. Cersei, Daenerys, Jon, what are they calling the White Walker King? Night King or something like that? Whatever, I'm just going to say leader of the Walkers. Yeah, so, four players here. At least two of them are going to have to go. Okay, so Cersei, 100%. She's going to get deposed here. There is no way they can keep her in there, because even if she comes out on top with the White Walkers being demolished and Daenerys' forces being annihilated, her forces are going to be annihilated. She's there for intimidation. Best case scenario for her is what I described happening, and then she gets killed the exact same way that she killed Robert or something like that. A plot. She's done. Night King, he's been the real antagonist of this show from the beginning. No personality, just a threat. He's gotta go. What? So that just leaves Jon and Daenerys. But when they find out that they're related, so something's going to have to happen there. Something. So one of them will end up in a weaker position somehow. Now, could it be that Jon learns that he is the real heir to the throne, but then he perishes in the fight? Well, that would be fitting for him because, okay, so him getting killed at the end of season 5, that fit in line for what the show has been doing, but you would not have expected him, the driving force of the Beyond the Wall storyline, to die with that much story left. You would have expected him to die during the last season. Well, now, last season for me is about to start, so yeah, now it's okay for him to die. And going out during the final battle, that would be fitting for the character. It would be a little less fitting for Daenerys, actually, because a better fate for her is that she comes out on top, or she ends up in a weaker position somehow, but sees that her efforts somehow succeeded. So it's tough. One of these two is going to have something happen to them, but if Jon learns that he is related before anything bad happens to either one of them, that's going to cause problems. But if he finds out that they're related after something bad has happened to one of them, well, if it's something bad that happened to him, won't actually matter that much. Daenerys will just take over, and then if he learns that after something bad happens to Daenerys, he steps up and saves Westeros. Because Bran, the fact that he's still alive, they're going to have him reveal that fact. So, yeah. Something's going to happen. One of those two is going to have to get into a weaker state or die. Jon being much more likely, which would make Sansa the one in charge of Winterfell from now on, but that would be nice. Alright, not much else left to discuss, I think. Oh, yeah, there is, actually. Where the heck is, Ghost and then Arya's Beowulf? Because she did have that bit where she thought she encountered her Beowulf, but then nothing happened. And they've been making it clear that they want to show what is happening to the Beowulfs just as much as it's happening to all the Stark's kids. So, where are they? Yeah, because we haven't seen Ghost for a couple of seasons now, unless I missed when Ghost died, but Robb's is dead, Sansa's dead, Rickhorn's dead, Bran's is dead, Arya's she sent away, so I think all that leaves is Ghost. Oh, maybe I'll find out. Unless I missed it, because it would have been ridiculously easy for me to assume that Ghost died at some point. It wouldn't be that crazy at all, but I could have sworn I saw him in Season 6. I could have sworn. Alright, time to see the last season and see if it's as bad as everybody says it is. I don't know, because I know nothing about this last season. I could have sworn I heard one thing about it, but I don't know if it's true. Everything else that I know that I did hear about for this show has already happened, because that's why I was surprised when Jon was killed at the end of Season 5. I'm like, I know I've seen a picture of him and Daenerys together, so that hasn't happened yet. Alright, let's see.